much for letting me spend a few minutes of your day with you. I really appreciate it. Today, I want to talk about why so many parents of special needs children feel isolated. And you're thinking to yourself, oh, wow, you really need to dedicate a whole episode to that because like we don't already know why they feel that way. So I know you understand, and I know you've experienced this. And so I just want to, if you're newly diagnosed, if you're somebody who has a brand new diagnosis of autism for your child, I want to kind of help to normalize what you're feeling, and I want to encourage you, and I want to give you some hope and some guidance because I've been on this journey now for 26 years. My son is 28. He was diagnosed at 2. And so I've been on the journey for a very long time. I'm an OG mama. I have 4 kids total. I raised my kids as a single parent. I also own businesses and do some radio work and podcasting on the side. And so if I can do it, I can absolutely encourage you to do it as well. And I want to let you know that there was a time very early on in the early days when it was so much of a struggle that I wasn't sure I was going to really be able to make it. I didn't see a lot of hope for myself. I didn't see a lot of hope for my family. I didn't understand why everything for a certain period of time was such a struggle. It was such an absolute struggle that I fell into a place of true hopelessness for a while. And it was a very painful place to be. I wanted my mind to be in a different space. I couldn't find hope. And when I would talk with others about this, I would hear things like, just take it one day at a time, let's take today for today. Just get through today. And to me, when I would hear that, I felt even more hopeless because I kept thinking to myself, well, if all I have is today and I feel this way today, I'm not looking forward to tomorrow. And when you're in one of those funks, it is so it's so difficult. You simply can't pull yourself up by the bootstraps and think different thoughts. I got that advice a couple of times too. Just think of happy things, think of different things. Yeah, okay, the weight of the world is on my shoulders right now. I'm raising 4 children predominantly by myself. Thank God for the help and love of, close family. And I've got a child that I can't seem to help the way I want to help, and it feels very out of control, and the world is spinning off its axis. I mean, that's kind of how it felt. So I want to address this especially if you are a new parent with a child with an autism diagnosis, and it is something that requires a lot of, perhaps behavioral intervention. It requires rethinking how you're going to do education for this child. Rethinking how you're going to do gatherings and events and all sorts of things. So I want to be here as a guide for you and a support system to help you and help normalize what you may be feeling right now. Okay. Also, you need to know I have an free online support group. It's called Spectrum Nation. It's on the school platform. You simply go to spectrumnation.org and click the link. And then when I see you there, I can give you access to the group. Okay. It's kind of like a Facebook group, only much better, much more intimate. I can post videos and podcasts there. There's group dialogue. It's great. We do Zoom calls. And so if you need the support, and who doesn't, right? Please go to spectrumnation.org and join my free online support group. Okay, so why do so many parents feel isolated? Well, we're naming it. All right, parents of special needs children, especially those who are raising kids on the spectrum. We live in a world that's different. It's different than others. Other people don't understand our morning, our afternoon, our evening, our nighttime. They don't understand the waking in the middle of the night. It is not something they can relate to. It's not that we don't want to connect or they don't want to connect. It's that the world we live in is different, and trying to explain it and trying to help other people understand the difference can feel a little exhausting and sometimes intimidating. People just don't get it if they haven't lived through it. So we're also juggling a lot, where we could be juggling therapy appointments and IEP school meetings. If we choose to go that route, I would recommend you not go that route. But if you do, you're juggling school meetings as well, sensory challenges, emotional ups and downs that shift regularly. And again, most people can't relate. It's not their fault, but it does leave us feeling like the odd man out, right? Or misunderstood. Then there's also the weight of exhaustion and judgment. And the judgment may be perceived. We may be perceiving things as judgment. They may not really be judgment. Sometimes they will be. And that is something we're also dealing with. We're managing more in 1 week than most people do in a month or more. We're dealing with things emotionally, mentally, and logistically for ourselves, our family, and the child we have now been commissioned really to support and get help for. And when we finally get a break, we all feel like what do? We don't have a ton of energy sometimes. So we don't necessarily use it to connect. We use it to decompress, right? We use it to reestablish our nervous system and recalibrate ourselves. We don't necessarily feel like going out for a wingding of a party where we have to now expend energy talking and visiting and making small talk. We just kind of want to chill. We tell ourselves, I need some quiet, because that's how we feel. But having so much quiet can also lead to isolation before we realize it. And then you can add on to that what feels like judgment, the looks in public, the sometimes unsolicited advice. I used to get this from time to time. People don't do that as much anymore. But again, my son was diagnosed 26 years ago. There was a lot of unsolicited advice being given out then. The family member who says, well, if you just discipline them more, right? Or if you try this, and if you just, well, you're letting them get away with it, or maybe they're spoiled, the whole thing. It is, for those reasons, no wonder why we tend to pull away. It's a no wonder. And really, the people you want to get advice from are the people who have done it, who are behavioral experts, who have utilized things like applied behavioral analysis or behavioral modification to help with some of the challenging behaviors. People who understand this isn't a discipline issue per se. In so many cases, it's a communications issue where a child is acting out because they do not have a mechanism for communication in this world. And the only way they get attention is when what? They're making a loud noise, they're starting to tantrum, they're escalating because they're just simply not able to communicate what is going on with them, the pain or the hunger or the fear or the anxiety. And it translates to sometimes escalated behaviors. And so how do you imagine trying to discipline the lack of communication out of somebody? Like, just the notion of doing that is unconscionable. So it's not about discipline. It's about giving them the tools they need to better communicate. And once you can help implement tools for your child for communication, your world and their world is going to start to change. But there's all of that, there's the judgment and the overwhelm. I used to, and I still do, I see the way people look at my son. I see they don't know what I'm looking, but I'm always watching. I'm always looking at other people and the way that they're navigating their facial expressions or reactions to my son in public. It doesn't go away over time. It gets better. People are far more enlightened and educated today than they were 26 years ago. But it doesn't necessarily totally go away. And that's why I love to show off how incredibly beautiful and amazing and sweet and kind my son is, because to meet him and know him is to love him. And chances are it's very similar for your child as well. If people took a minute to say hello, they would find an endearing space in their hearts for your child very, very quickly, because these are earth angels. So let's talk about the third thing on my list of things today that we deal with that sometimes cause us to isolate, and that is hidden grief and maybe the emotional load that goes with it. When I say the word grief, I want to be really careful. I want to be very careful with the word grief. I am not saying that you have something to grieve over. I'm not saying that. I'm not going to tell you that. I'm not going to suggest that. I'm going to tell you that in the 25 years that I have been working with children and also adults with autism and their families, grief is an underlying current. It's not the grief for our child. It's never that, but it is often for the dream of what you thought their life was going to be, or maybe even the dream of an easier road. So the weight that we carry, we don't often share that because we don't want to give the wrong impression that we grieve that our child isn't somebody else. We sometimes grieve over the fact that we want the very best for our child, and we are not sure that this thing that they're navigating through that we know as autism is the best for them. We don't know that. We want the best for them. We want them to live the fullest life possible. And I think sometimes we get concerned that they're not going to be able to inside of the confines of things known as autism. And autism can also look like special gifting, as you know. So sometimes it's special abilities above and beyond yours and mine in some areas. And yet, because it's different than what we in this world navigate, it is seen as disability rather than different ability or special ability. And that's too bad. I believe that's going to continue to change. We need to link arms together in groups like Spectrum Nation to continue to send that message loud and clear, to continue to educate the vast population about the special gifts and talents of this population, of the group of these earth angels known as those on the autism spectrum. We really do need to do our due diligence and be advocating for that level of education. But it's okay to process through the dream that you had for your child that is going to now look different. It's okay to process through that. And it is really okay not to want to talk to just anybody about that. It sometimes opens the door to, again, more unsolicited advice. Well, you should be so happy. At least they're healthy. The whole thing, which is all true. But again, we're not grieving the person. We're not grieving the child. We sometimes in the very beginning have to navigate the process now of what life is going to look like, juxtapose what we thought it was going to look like. Okay. The fourth thing that we deal with here is we really need connection with people that get it. So how do we then recognize the three things I've just mentioned: the hidden grief and emotional load, the weight of exhaustion and judgment, and the navigating the isolation that is just a byproduct of our lives looking different? How do we begin then to find hope and step into an empowered place? Well, the first thing we do is understand you don't just need support. Support can come from a support planner. I think about that because my son just had his semi-annual review with the county case manager for some of the services that we do for him, some of the supports we provide for him. And so there's that kind of support. There's support, and then there is connection. And there's a difference between support and connection. We need spaces where we don't have to explain what we mean by meltdown, or why transitions are hard, or why a good day feels like a miracle. We don't want to have to explain that. We want to be with people who get that, and that is connection. We need people who see our children's brilliance, not just their challenges, and people who see our strengths and our gifts and our brilliance as parents. Are you tired of wearing the hat that says parent of ... You should be, because that is not all you are. You are that. And you are also the man or woman who came into this earth with some God-given gifts and talents, who has something also to contribute to the rest of mankind and womankind. And we need you. And we need you fully present. And we need you living out the fullness of your gifts and talents. We need you parenting and raising your children to the best of your ability. And we can help support you in doing that and connect with you on all of that. But we also need you to step into your brilliance. We need you not to put your dreams on the back shelf. We need you not to wear a big banner over your head and a t-shirt and a hat that says parent of ... Because that is not your identity. It's one of the situations you're in. It's one of the roles that you play. You should be playing multiple roles because you are a multifaceted, brilliant, and beautiful human being. And God is going to use your gifts and your talents through your child, through the autism community, to also help the collective and benefit others. We need your gifts and talents that cause you to be who you are, in addition to being the beautiful, brilliant parent of a child with autism. All right. And then the hope is communities that are like-minded and that can bring you to those places of brilliance and remind you of who you are and remind you of the dreams in your heart and remind you not to let them go or abandon them and to guide you through stepping into them fully. And I am here to do that. That's why I've created a community called Spectrum Nation. It's why Spectrum Nation exists, because parents like us deserve a place to connect and share and laugh and grow together and connect on Zoom calls, not out of pity. We don't do that. We don't do that here, but out of purpose, out of passion and purpose. And if you've been feeling alone, I want you to know connection isn't a luxury. It is a part of how we heal. We heal through community and connection. So if you're listening right now and that ache of sort of like, I don't know where I fit, I don't know where I am, I've lost my dreams, who am I anymore? I feel that feeling of isolation feels familiar. Maybe it's time for you to take one small step back toward this beautiful thing we call connection. All right, join us, start a conversation, ask for help, or just simply show up, because in this community I've created, you are seen, you are understood, and you are never alone. And I'd love to see you there. It's called Spectrum Nation. Go to spectrumnation.org. As always, thank you so much for joining me. If this episode spoke to your heart, please share it with another parent who might need to hear this, who might need to hear that they're not alone. If you haven't joined our community yet, come find us, spectrumnation.org. Love you so much. I'm with you in it as always, and I cannot wait to see you on the next episode.